Welcome to Health Club with Julia. I'm your host, health coach, and registered dietitian, Julia Campagna. I'm on a mission to bridge the gap between looking your best and living your life to the fullest. After years of over dieting, struggling with disordered eating, and destroying my social life, I finally found how to reach my dream physique without sacrificing the things I love. Now I'm sharing all my strategies and education with you. We'll be talking all things health, including hormones, metabolism, and lifestyle to help you cut out the confusion and start living. So get cozy and join the club. Hello you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Health Club with Julia podcast. As always, I'm so happy you are here. Today we are talking all about PMS. The lovely PMS. I'm sure every woman who is listening to this has experienced PMS to some degree at some point in their life. Maybe you don't experience it now, maybe you experience it every single period, maybe it's just every random period you experience it, but I am certain that we have all experienced what that dreadful PMS feels like, what it is, and we all probably hate it. Not to lie, it's not fun, it's really the worst, and some people have different PMS symptoms than others. But I want to go over PMS, and I want to talk today about how we can help manage our PMS symptoms better and go over different strategies to overall help with PMS. So PMS meaning premenstrual syndrome. This is marked by several different kinds of symptoms, and again, you might not experience all of these things, you might experience only a few of them. If you do experience all of these things, we gotta talk. But PMS is really marked by things like weight gain, water retention, breast tenderness, some people get really sore breasts, back issues, digestive issues, where maybe you're bloating more, you just feel not the best digestion wise, maybe you have some acne going on, fatigue, cramps, mood changes, big swings in mood, anxiety, heightened anxiety during this time. These are all different markers of PMS. Now again, you might not experience all of these things, you might only experience a few, but even a few is not fun. And I'm here to say that first and foremost, this does not have to be quote unquote normal if you experience this. I think as a society, we kind of have normalized PMS. It's even become kind of a joking matter in a way. I don't know, I've seen different memes on social media and different kind of videos where it's the woman is acting crazy and the men are they're just PMSing, and it's kind of become this normalized joke that women around their period, right before the period / on the period, they turn into a monster. And that is just kind of how society views women during this time, I feel like, which is really terrible because I'm sorry, man, you don't experience the fluctuations that women do, and so you have no say on how it feels. Thank you very much. But it's really just become this norm of, oh, women experience these things, it really sucks, they turn into monsters, and then it's all butterflies and rainbows and sunshine after their period is over. When really, it does not have to be normal. I don't know where or why this ended up being normalized, but these things aren't totally normal. Normal to an extent, yes. Yeah, you might have a little bit more water retention during this time. Yeah, you might feel a little bit more fatigued because of the fluctuations that are happening inside of our bodies. So normal to a degree, but the level that we have normalized it is not actually normal. And I think that it's time that we kind of stand up for ourselves, women here listening to this, and we take control of our health, because you can go through periods and not experience these things and truly love your body for what it does. I think a lot of the times women hate periods so much and resent getting their periods is because they don't enjoy the process. It's just not fun. But for example, for me, I don't really experience a lot of these symptoms. Again, I experience normal symptoms. Yeah, sometimes I do get more fatigued, or weights in the gym do feel heavier sometimes. And I will have some cramping going on, but it's immediate. When I get cramping, I know immediately I'm starting my bleed. It is simultaneous, and I don't really have debilitating cramps. I'll cramp for a little bit, and then after several hours, it'll go away. And so I never really dread my period, like, yeah, do I want to not necessarily bleed? Like, yes, but I will never take that for granted. And I don't hate my period. Like, I'm so happy that my period is so regular. I don't experience bad symptoms. And I can just kind of go through each cycle like, oh, yep, this is when I'm going to get my period. And the biggest thing I have to worry about is not leaking through, like, and just making sure that I have things on hand if I'm going out or whatever. You know, it's more of the bleed that I just have to make sure I'm cautious of. But otherwise, like, I love my period. I'm so happy I get it regularly. I'm so happy it's healthy. I don't have bad PMS, and I feel like more women would appreciate their period if they didn't have such bad PMS symptoms. And so again, that doesn't have to be your norm. You can totally live with pain-free, nearly zero symptoms, if any at all, during your cycles. And so that's kind of what I want to go over, strategy on how to manage it, yes, but also things to help with it as well. And side note here, just kind of branching off, PMS on birth control. I have gotten this question a couple of times, you know, why I'm on birth control, but I still experience symptoms. Why? I'm not having those normal fluctuations. Like when I explain to people like, oh, you don't really have normal hormonal fluctuations if you're on birth control, because it kind of just like flatlines and disrupts our regular, you know, hormone signaling with our body. And so you don't really have them. So people are like, well, why do I still experience PMS symptoms? So you experience PMS on birth control, or what I like to call them, I call them ghost symptoms, quote unquote ghost symptoms. And this is because the lower levels of progesterone caused by the medication. And then when you stop the medication, aka your placebo pills or the sugar pills that you take that week that you're supposed to start your bleed, you're then kind of withdrawing from that. And so you're having this sudden withdrawal, and then your body kind of goes haywire. And so yes, you can still experience PMS symptoms while on birth control, even if you don't have normal hormonal fluctuations. It's all because of the medication that you're giving your body, and withdrawal and progesterone levels. It all kind of relates to that. So yes, you can get them. I call them ghost symptoms. I just think, I mean, yes, they are actual symptoms that you're experiencing, but they're not related to a regular cycle. So that's why I call them ghost symptoms. But you can experience some PMS symptoms even on birth control because of these things, mainly due to progesterone levels and the medication that you're taking. Now, moving forward, let's talk about some considerations that we want to take with PMS symptoms before we kind of just go into the whole, like, how do we help manage these symptoms? How do we help heal these symptoms? So first thing that and again, I'm talking nutritional considerations right now. So first, like, nutritional consideration that you should keep in mind is, number one, inflammation. Inflammation can make your PMS so much worse. So if you got a lot of inflammation going on in the body, yeah, you're probably going to experience more intense PMS symptoms. Now, inflammation can come from several different things, so it's really important to understand where your inflammation is coming from and what is causing the inflammation. But some things that can cause inflammation, again, nutritional considerations, things that can cause more inflammation in the body nutritionally are things like highly processed foods. So what is your diet like? Do you mainly have whole foods and really keep these processed foods to a minimum? Then that's probably not your cause of inflammation. But if you have highly processed foods most of the time, if you are having takeout most of the time, if you are eating fast food a lot of times, if you are having a lot of packaged items like chips, Oreos, different pastries, cereal, if you are having a lot of packaged processed items, this can be a trigger for inflammation for your body. So first thing with inflammation, check what your diet is like. Make sure it is mainly made up of whole foods, and then try definitely to stay away from ultra processed foods, like minimally processed. Okay, if you have that every once in a while, that's fine. You know, I get we are all human and we're not going to have like fruits and vegetables all day, every single day, and that is absolutely it. I don't even do that. I do have some minimally processed foods as well, but really just try to stay away from the highly ultra processed foods as much as possible, and make sure that your diet is made up of mostly whole food sources. So that's the first thing with inflammation. Second thing is sugar with inflammation. If you're having a lot of sugar in your day, added sugar, this can cause more inflammation. And so we want to keep added sugars to a minimal. Again, a lot of people get confused with this or get worried in the sense like, oh, well, fruit is sugar, so I can't have any fruit. No. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about added sugars, sugar alcohols, things that are added to foods. Again, this is going to go hand in hand with highly processed foods. If you're having more highly processed foods, odds are you're having more added sugars as well. So make sure that, again, mainly whole foods, you're gonna not be really at risk for added sugars, but stay away from things like pastries, cookies, donuts, all the things. Soft drinks as well, any sodas, they have a lot of added sugar. Any electrolyte drinks too, as we're talking about soft drinks here, I mean Gatorade and stuff like that, like they got a lot of sugar added to them as well. So just making sure you're staying away from the added sugar. Regular sugar is fine, and you can have some added sugar. I think the recommendation is like 4 teaspoons of added sugar max for the whole day. I don't know what that is in grams right off the top of my head, but just try to stay away from that as much as you can. Third thing with inflammation is alcohol. How much are you drinking? Are you having like some casual drinks one day a week? Okay, that's not terrible. Could you do that every other week? Depends on how much you're drinking too. Like if you drink one time a week, but you're having 1 or 2 drinks, okay, you're probably fine. Putting it out there with all vulnerability, I probably drink weekly, but it's definitely only usually like 1 time a week, unless there's certain events going on that it's more. It's usually 1 day a week, if that, if not every other week. And I generally stick to like 2 drinks max when I do drink. So that's vulnerability, like being open and honest. That's how much I am drinking. But if you are going out with friends and you are drinking, even if it's 1 night a week and you're having like 6, 7 drinks, that's a lot. And if that's multiple times a week and you're having, let's say, even 4 or 5 drinks, and you're doing that twice a week, so you're having like 8 to 10 drinks a weekend or during a week, that's a lot. You might want to pull back on that a little bit. Alcohol is definitely can trigger an inflammatory response, so you have to make sure that you are minimizing that and just being really in control and mindful of how much you are drinking if you're going to continue to drink alcohol. I'm not here to tell you to totally take out alcohol. Just be responsible, be mindful on that, and try not to overdo it with that. Another thing with inflammation is low fiber. Having a very low fiber diet can be inflammatory. We want to have fiber. We want to help excrete certain things out of our body through poop. Yes, if you've listened to my previous podcast, I talk about poop. You want to be making sure that you are going to the bathroom on a daily basis to help excrete certain things in the body that help with lowering inflammation. So if you have a very low fiber diet, you're not excreting things as much, that can cause some inflammation going on. So fiber, there's kind of like, not necessarily a fine line with fiber, but you have to be, again, mindful and in tune with your body with fiber. Some people can have more fiber than others and be totally fine, and some people who try to up their fiber a lot can struggle a little bit. So make sure that you monitor how much fiber you are having, especially if you are looking to increase your fiber. But as a general rule of thumb, we want like a minimum of, I'd say like 24, 25 grams of fiber as a minimum a day. And that can go up to 30, 35, 40 grams of fiber. Again, that depends on the person and how you tolerate fiber. But making sure that you are getting that minimum dose of fiber. I would say on average, we as a society don't eat enough fiber. I would probably say if I had to guess, the average fiber intake for people in general is probably around 15 to 17 grams of fiber, which is a bit lower than what we want. And so we gotta just pay attention to high fiber foods. So things like oatmeal, lentils, beans, berries. Berries are great and they're really easy to get an extra fiber, so that one's a really great one. Cruciferous vegetables are good with fiber. Chia seeds, flax seeds, these are going to add some fiber to your diet. So those are just some right off the bat that I'm thinking of. There's definitely a ton more foods with higher fiber in them, but making sure that you are getting like a minimum 24, 25 grams of fiber a day, every single day. So these are all nutritional considerations to take in mind when it comes to inflammation. And remember, inflammation can make PMS worse, so we want to lower our inflammation as much as we can. Second nutritional consideration with PMS is caffeine. I know I'll probably get some hate and you're probably like, fuck, no, I don't want to do that because, you know, we all know that America runs on Dunkin', you know, like that is a saying for a reason, because I feel like a lot of people just do actually run on caffeine, but that's not great for our PMS. So with caffeine, this is just something that again affects our hormones. And so if it's affecting our hormones, it can definitely affect PMS. So we want to be mindful with our caffeine intake. Now, you don't have to totally cut out coffee. I'm not saying, or caffeine in general. I'm not saying that you totally have to cut out caffeine, but I would limit your caffeine intake. 1 cup of coffee a day isn't that bad, but if you're experiencing really bad PMS, you might want to cycle your caffeine. So what I mean by this is maybe your follicular phase, your ovulatory phase, you have a little bit more caffeine, like you're good on 1 cup a day, that's fine. As you enter your luteal phase, you should try to wean off of that a little bit. Either switch to half calf or lower the amount that you're having in a week. So maybe instead of having a cup of coffee every single day, you have a cup of coffee, 3 times that week or during your luteal phase, and the rest of the time is a decaf coffee. And then as you get closer to your menstrual phase, when you start your bleed, you should be again cutting back even more. So totally going decaf, or again, all half calf throughout the week, trying not to have like a lot of caffeine during that time frame. So you can cycle caffeine as well. And again, this is more important for those who actually do experience bad PMS. Short-term sacrifice for long-term benefit. Think of it that way. So no, you don't have to totally cut it out, but if you are somebody who does experience bad PMS, I would either cycle it or cut it out for the time being. And that can have a positive impact. So watch out for your caffeine intake. If you are somebody who has 2 cups of coffee every single day of your entire life, then you might want to wean off of that, cycle off of that as well. You don't want to become reliant on caffeine. So just some food for thought for you with caffeine. Third thing I want to talk about with nutritional considerations with PMS is that you do, with the whole like hunger and cravings thing with PMS, again, as I had said with all PMS symptoms, these are normal to a degree, but I want to talk about the cravings for a second. Here, your metabolic rate does increase about 5 to 10% while you are on your period / into your late luteal phase. So what does this mean? This means that you can burn up to like 300 more calories than you normally do when you're at this time. And again, this is because of hormonal fluctuations going on. And so yes, your metabolic rate does increase, and that is a lot of the times why people do feel hungrier in their late luteal phase / on their period. And they're like, what the heck, I'm so hungry, I just want to eat everything. And then they go into this whole thing like, oh, but I can't eat, I shouldn't eat more. And then they get stressed about their intake and how hungry they get. So my thought here and my suggestion for you is that you might need to eat a little bit more in your late luteal phase and early menstrual phase if you're feeling hungrier. Now, there is a line that needs to be drawn here. When I say you might need to eat more, that does not mean go to the grocery store, buy a pack of cookies, and eat all the cookies. That's not what I'm saying. Your metabolic rate does increase, therefore you're burning more calories just naturally on a day-to-day basis during this time, so you're going to be hungrier. Feed your body with the food that it needs. Still stick to primarily whole food sources, getting lots of vitamins and minerals. This is also going to help your PMS as well. The more vitamins and minerals that you get, the better your body will feel, versus just having a whole box of cookies. You're probably not going to feel great after that. Physically, like ill, sick, nausea, and also you're not giving your body like many nutrients at all with things like that. So yes, you might need to eat more. It's okay to eat more during this time, but make sure that it's mostly nutrient dense food. And yes, if you want to have a little bit more chocolate during this time, go for it, that's fine, but don't just gravitate towards only that. You still want to have some nutrient density if you're eating more during this time. And The last kind of nutritional consideration I want to mention with managing your PMS is nutrient deficiencies. This can definitely cause worse PMS as well. So main nutrients that we need to take into consideration surrounding our sex hormones, reproductive health, and PMS are, I would say, zinc, selenium, magnesium are really big ones because those affect your thyroid health, and that can also impede and make PMS worse. So these ones are really important for your thyroid health, which go hand in hand with your sex hormones and PMS symptoms. Those three I would take, a closer look at, and then also your vitamins B, C, E, and D. Those ones are also really important. So again, like with these things, yes, you can get more of these in your diet. Like selenium, for example, 1 to 2 Brazil nuts a day is your daily dose of selenium that you need. That's so easy to get through your diet. Just go and buy the Brazil nuts, and there you go. Magnesium is also a supplement I would say the general population can take without having too much of any negative side effects. It's hard to kind of go overboard with magnesium. I think most people would benefit from having magnesium, so that one is, one that's more appropriate for general health, as well as like vitamin B, vitamin D. These ones are good for general health. But with anything, before you supplement, I always suggest getting checked out, seeing what you are deficient in, if anything at all, and then supplementing what your body needs more help on. And again, starting with increasing foods that are high in these nutrients, and then taking a supplement as necessary for you. But nutrient deficiencies can definitely worsen your PMS, so you want to make sure that you are checking in with your nutrient status, getting some blood work done, and then adding in more of these nutrients that is necessary. Again, you can get a lot of these things through diet, so just make sure that you are having variety in your diet. Again, whole food based foods, sticking away from ultra processed foods, and also variety. So think about eating the rainbow, having a lot of different colors. There's different vitamins and minerals in each one. We have anthocyanins, which are like more blue purple colors. We have flavonoids, which are more orange colors. So there's just a lot of different nutrients in different foods, and the easiest way to kind of guarantee you're getting more variety in your nutrient intake is different colors, making sure that you're having different colors on your plates: oranges, greens, purples, reds, having different colors with your meals in the form of different foods, and also swapping those out every now and then. So if you're like, oh, I have green food all the time, I have broccoli and arugula every single week, okay, well maybe you switch that out. Instead of arugula, try kale. Instead of broccoli, try zucchini. Switch out foods of the same color every now and then as well. So check for nutrient deficiencies. So those are my nutritional considerations and important things that are going to help manage your PMS. So number 1, get inflammation under control. Check what is the cause of your inflammation. 2, wean off of caffeine or cycle caffeine if you have bad PMS, especially during your luteal into menstrual phase. 3, your metabolic rate does increase. Take care of that. If you need to eat more, do so. But again, remember, mostly nutrient-dense foods. And then 4th thing, nutrient deficiencies. Check in on those, see what you need to improve on, and help your body out with that. Now, those are the nutritional considerations with PMS. So what are some other things that can help manage your PMS symptoms? So number 1, herbal teas. These are really great. My top recommendation for herbal tea is red raspberry leaf tea. You can get that pretty much in any grocery store. I know like my local ShopRite, Stop and Shop, has red raspberry leaf tea. That one is great for cramps. So if you're having a little bit of cramps, definitely have some of that. The other really good herbal tea that I would suggest is nettle leaf tea. So those would be 2 that I would have on hand if you do have bad PMS. Start drinking more of that instead of caffeine during your luteal and intermenstrual phase, and you're getting the best of both worlds. You're still having a warm, comforting drink without so much of the caffeine, and it's also helping your PMS. So red raspberry and nettle leaf tea, those would be my top 2 herbal teas for you. Another thing that you can do is castor oil packs. This helps with muscle relaxation. It's also warming. It can help with bleeding. So this is great. You can do this quite often. Honestly, there's not a ton of negative benefits to castor oil packs. It also helps with liver detox, which again is helpful for going to the bathroom daily and excreting certain, things out of the body, one being excess estrogen, which can really make PMS worse if you have estrogen dominance. So this is really great for liver detox as well. So castor oil packs are great. If you have any questions on castor oil packs, let me know, but I think that they're a great thing to add in, very easy to do, and not really negative side effects. So that, and then of course number 3 being heating pad. Heat always helps. Makes you, 1, feel more comfortable, 2, just again helps with muscle relaxation, etc. So cramping, get a heating pad. This one's great as well. There's several different kinds that you can do. There's some that you just heat up in the microwave. There's some that are like electronic heating pads and you can kind of control the temperature. However you want to go about it, a heating pad is a great tool to use to help manage your PMS as well. And so those are some things to help manage your PMS. Now, what about healing? What about, okay, I don't want to just manage it, but I want to actually help this go away. So all the nutrition considerations kind of go hand in hand with healing as well, like nutrient deficiencies. Yes, if you fix your nutrient deficiencies, that should help heal any PMS that you're experiencing. If you are lowering your inflammation, yes, that should also help heal PMS that you're experiencing. But on top of those 2 things, another thing I would take into consideration is stress levels. Stress impacts so much. I have mentioned stress, I feel like, in every single solitary episode of my podcast, but stress is so important and you need to stress less. Now, again, as I always mention when I mention stress in my podcast episodes, stress is necessary. We need a stress response. All stress is not bad stress. However, chronic stress, when you are stressed all the time, you chronically feel overwhelmed and you don't ever really have a lot of time in that Zen mode, that's a problem. You need to address your stress levels, and stressing less can absolutely help PMS kind of go away. So figure out what is your cause of stress and what are some techniques that you can use on a daily basis, mind you, to stress less and help regulate your nervous system. Another thing that I would say to help heal is not overtraining. Overtraining is a big cause of worse PMS symptoms. So check in with your training. How often are you training? What kind of training are you doing? Are you doing mostly weightlifting? Are you doing a lot of cycle classes or things like Orange Theory where it's pretty high intensity all the time? So again, how often, what kind, what is the intensity of your training, and make sure that you're giving yourself ample rest time. I definitely suggest 2 days of rest. At least, absolute minimum, you should be having 1 full rest day where you're really not doing anything. Especially again for people who are experiencing worse PMS, I would even up that to 2 or 3 days of rest days. But all in all, you want to just make sure that you are not overtraining. Yes, focusing on strength training can help in many ways, but we want to watch out for the high intensity exercises, things like F45, Orange Theory, cycle classes, just HIIT training, circuit training in general. If you're not taking a class and you're just doing it on your own, just make sure you're not overdoing those things. Those can definitely have negative effects with our hormones and PMS. So make sure that you're giving yourself ample rest time and you're not overdoing it on the high intensity training. And the last thing I would say is your overall healthy habits. What are you doing on a day-to-day basis that can influence your PMS and your hormone status? So for example, do you wake up and do you jump out of bed, get dressed, have a cup of coffee, skip breakfast, and run out the door for work? Are you stressed all the time at work? Do you ever take breaks? Do you scroll on your phone all night long and you get to bed later than you should? Or are you someone who wakes up, gets dressed, saves some time for a nice healthy breakfast, then you have maybe a cup of coffee, maybe half calf or whatever that looks like for you, but you do have a breakfast before. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Health Club with Julia podcast. If you loved the episode, share the podcast and tag me, and subscribe so you don't miss any further episodes. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a DM. Thanks for being a part of the club. See you next time.